Hey everyone, welcome to this quick tutorial on how to create an AI-powered content library. I'm going to show you two ways. One is a semi-manual way and one is a fully automated way. We're going to use no-code tools like Airtable, OpenAI, Zapier, and WebFlow to get this done. With that, let's get into it. So I'm going to show you around my Airtable setup real quickly. So this is the table that we're going to push towards WebFlow. So this is the resume keywords table. I'm going to get into each of the different fields in a bit, but you can see how this is set up. And once it's in Airtable, we push it to WebFlow with a zap. So this takes a look at a new record in Airtable according to a different status and formats the text so that the markdown is done properly, and then creates a new item in WebFlow CMS. Then it goes into this collection on WebFlow. You can have it directly published on WebFlow or you can have it staged for publish. And this is the final output. So I am going to take you through what is possible with GPT-3 to create content that can be used on your website. So if you go to Airtable, I'm going to start with the different fields. So I'm looking at different roles. I want to create a role description for them. For example, what does a psychotherapist do? What are resume keywords for this kind of role? And a bunch of boilerplate text that I'm going to add later. And then once that is done, I publish it to the website. So the main fields that are relevant for this are the role details and resume keywords. And for that, we've used Airtable scripting. So I'm going to show how that's possible. So I've already created two scripts here, but you can go to add extension, and this is all possible in the free plan. You go into add extension and you search for scripting. So you can add a new script into any Airtable database. I'm not going to start from scratch, so I'm going to show you what's already done. I used this by Tommy. I used this script to summarize data. So I took this and tweaked it a bit. I'll put this link in the description so you can check that out. And with that, we're going to go back to Airtable and I'm going to quickly open up the code for the keyword. All right, so this is the script that's used to take some information from the table that we have and query OpenAI's API and get some results. I'm not going to explain everything in this code. I don't know the technical level that you're at, but you just need to copy this entire script and then make a few changes. The main change that you have to make is to understand what table you're going to change. So that's something that you should just check here. This is my table that I've used. This code is to just select which record to use. It opens up a pop-up, and in this, it checks, okay, if there's a record present, this is giving parameters to OpenAI. So what you would need to change is the prompt. So the prompt will depend on your use case and what you want to customize it with. So for example, mine is list down 10 software developer skill keywords separated by commas. So this is my prompt. And these are the parameters. You can play around with the max tokens. I'll get into that a bit later to talk about how this is important, but you can keep it at 256 or going up to 1024 or even further than that. This part is calling the API. So this calls the API. You have to add your own API key here, which I've kind of removed for this demo. So you have to add your API key here, like the comment suggests. Once that is done, you have to change this field. So this is the output field. So like I showed you in the table, there is a resume keywords column. So this is getting populated here. I am going to quickly add my key back in, and then I'll show you a live example of how to do it. All right, we are back. So as you can see, I've already generated most of this. I'm going to show you how to use an example and set this up. Before we get into that, there are a couple of ways to do it. This is a semi-automated way. So you have a button that you have to press to be able to generate the keywords or the role. You can go into adding a new column, selecting button, and instead of opening a URL, you can do a run a script. So you can select what script you need to run. I have two scripts, keyword script and role details. So you can select the right one and create a field. It will automatically create a column with a button in it, and then you can click on that to generate the role. So I will not create this button, but I'll show you how it's done. I'm going to take an example of an operations manager, and some of these fields are formulas. So just to create the slug, meta description is basic text, but you could also use OpenAI to create a meta description. That works really well. These are sample fields that I'm going to copy as it is. I'm going to call it a draft, and I'm going to press this button, say generate role, and then it calls the script. And I'm going to press the generate keywords at the same time. This takes a few seconds. As you can see, this is the text generated. It's really good quality text that is created for this kind of role. And also it's created a bunch of keywords. And if you see, for an operations manager, you need project management, you need quality assurance skills, budgeting, planning. So all of it is on point. So it's pretty good. So that's how you kind of do it manually or like semi-automated. So you're not writing the text yourself, but you are calling the API manually. So this works if you want to generate maybe like 5 to 10 or maybe even 20 such things. Suppose you have two fields or you just have one field, you can just have one button for it. And if you have two fields, you could also generate a script that combines both of them together. I have it separately, so I need to press it twice. So that's a quick tutorial on how do you create it manually. So we have the operations manager here. So I'm going to show you how end to end it's done. I don't need to generate content, so I'm going to go directly to published, and it will hit Zapier in a bit, and then it will reflect in WebFlow. So I'm going to just wait for that to happen. It usually takes a few seconds, few minutes to happen, and I will be back.
A few moments later.
All right, as you can see now, it's 5:29 p.m. So it's run the task for operations manager. I will also show you a few things about the Zap that might be helpful. And if required, if you need me to share the Zap details that I've used, I can definitely do that. So leave that in the comments or tweet at me or DM me on Twitter. So I've set it up in a way that, okay, if there's a new record in the published view, so I've used those statuses to understand, okay, this is to be published, then only the Zap would run. Since there is markdown text required, you need this intermediate step from Zapier, which is the formatter, to be able to add headings to it, etc. And I have also combined all the different fields in Zapier to make this into one field as an output. So I've used the page name, I've used the role details, used this as a heading, added the keywords and added a few descriptions and CTAs at the end. Depending on your use case, you might need this or not need it. And then it creates an item in WebFlow. So it creates a item in a CMS collection. You can add all these details are coming from the first two steps in the process. Everything from the meta description to the title, header, and the body. Body is the markdown text. You have an image in Airtable. It creates a main image and a thumbnail. So all blogging systems should be able to support this. You also have the slug here. So all of this is set up. I have currently added it as an item. There's an option to add it as a live item. So in that case, it doesn't go to staging, it just directly publishes it. As you can see that the operations manager page is now on the CMS and all the fields are filled in. You have the images that have come. This is the body text that was there. This was the role details from OpenAI. This was the resume keywords, again from OpenAI. So all of this has been added. All I need to do is now click and publish. So it's going to be on the website now. And if I can probably copy this and see whether it's live. Yes. So as you can see, all of this is live just within a few minutes of setting it up. So yeah, that's the semi-automated way of doing it. Now I'm going to talk about the fully automated way. Now we go back to Airtable and we go to the automations tab. This feature is a pro feature in Airtable, so it's not on the free plan, it's not on the plus plan, it's on the pro plan, so it comes at a cost, but you can always weigh the trade-offs of taking the pro plan and getting things fully automated. So I'm going to give a brief on how this is set up. I again take a record when it enters a view, for example, generate content. Then there are a couple of scripts that run that are on the keyword details and role details. And then I update the rest of the information that's the same and automatically change the status as published so that it goes to WebFlow. You can add a bunch of things to this. You can add different triggers. For example, you can set up all your content at once, but then you have this run every day. So it picks up a few items every day and then runs it. So this is definitely more advanced than what I showed earlier and is available in the free plan. Here you can tinker around with things, but there are certain limitations that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to start showing what the script looks like. It's slightly different than previous. So you can add when a record enters a view, you can change this. So you have a lot of different options. At a scheduled time, when a button is clicked, when a form is submitted, etc. So you can play around with the trigger of this. As well as add different actions. So you can send an email, you can run a script, you can do a bunch with this. It's pretty comprehensive. I'm going to take a look at the keyword details script in the automation setup and show you the code there. So this is slightly different than what was there earlier. You would just need to kind of change a few field names depending on what you're doing. So I'm going to talk you through it. Again, the same table is used, resume keywords. I'm going to use the view generate content. So anytime an entry comes into this queue, it starts picking it up. Just setting up a few fields for the page name because I need to run the OpenAI API on which role is it. So that's the page name. This is just, for example, if you've got 5 entries in this queue, it's going to take one at a time and start running them in the same go. However, that comes with some drawbacks because Airtable's automation only allows for 30 seconds of runtime. Whereas if you have like 100 records at the same time, it might not work. So there are limitations to it. I've just tested it out with 2 records right now. If I increase the max tokens to 1024, chances are that it would error out because it would take more time. So there are drawbacks that you can work around with. So this is a base. I'll give access to what I've done. You can tinker around with it and make changes. And if you have basic scripting understanding, you can go ahead with it. So that's the limitation there. Rest of it is pretty similar. Calling the API here, you have to enter your own key, API key here. This is updating the table. So it's updating whichever records are part of this. It's going to update in that field. So again, the resume keywords field. All right. So I think I'm going to give access to this. I'll put this in the description so you can download it and use it yourself. You can tinker around with it. I just hacked this together. So I'm not a coder. So I was able to just look at the documentation, use ChatGPT to help me out and kind of create something that's workable. I'm sure it's not the greatest working code, but you can always try it out. And with that, I'm going to show you an example of how you can use this to fully automate and then get the data in and publish it automatically. All right, I made the changes. I'm going to just switch on this automation. I am going to go back to my data and I'm going to add a new role. I'm going to add a growth marketer role. And it creates these fields automatically. These also fields will get created. So I've set it up, the automation in a way that it creates the static fields as well. I'm going to add it to the generate content queue. And I'm going to wait for a few seconds for this to populate and show up here.
A few moments later.
All right, as you can see, the fields are being populated. So growth marketer has been added. The description has been added and so has the keywords. So this is done. I'm just going to add this, and as you can see, it's published. So we're going to go back to Zapier and wait for it to run. All right, now you can see that it's run for the second one. So it's run for growth marketer. So we can now go to our collection and see that growth marketer has been added. And we can see that all the fields have been entered. So similar to how we did it manually or semi-automated, we can see that the role details have come and the keywords have come and all the other text has come. And this is staged for publish, so we can save it and we can also publish it. So similar to the previous one, we published it. We can copy the link and see that it is live. Yes, so it's live. And with that, thanks for joining in. I hope this was helpful. If it was helpful, do let me know on Twitter or in the comments below. And let me know what you build with this. This is extremely new and we don't know whether Google will penalize such content. So that is another open item. But make sure to add some static text to your page too, so that you're not penalized by Google. So try it out. And yeah, thanks for joining in. And if you like this, do share it with others and like and comment. So yeah, take care.